In the fast evolving landscape of regulation, businesses are under more pressure than ever to comply with an increasing number of laws, standards, and reporting requirements. They are facing a lot of pressure, whether it's payroll or tax or labor law or even data privacy, that is making compliance more complex and critical than ever. Now, definitely, when said that, compliance management has now become an indispensable necessity, of course, a difficult one. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Dialani. Technology has definitely transformed compliance in every regard, just like any other industry that we have witnessed. It has eliminated tedious, time consuming processes, increased accuracy and transparency, and allows business to remain compliant with minimal effort. Now, let's welcome Pratik Vaidya, Managing Director and Chief Vision Officer at Karma Management Global Consulting Solutions, to give more insights on how technology and compliance together are evolving and how organizations can adapt to this evolving trend. Hi, Pratik, how are you doing?
Hi, Priya. In fact, thank you very much to invite me on this podcast. I'm very excited on this, and compliance has been passion so many years. So happy to give my insights on whatever analytics insight podcast you're doing.
Lovely, Pratik. Definitely, we are also glad to have you on our podcast today. And of course, compliance is a very tricky, I would say, a subject matter that we are going to discuss today. But before we, get into our conversation, let's start the foundation of our today's conversation by letting our listeners understand more about karma management. So, if you could help us understand more about the company, its solutions, or specialization, it would be great.
Thanks. So yes, I'm a founder and director at Karma Management Global Consulting Solutions. What we do is, in a simple language, we help enterprises stay compliant, pay people right, whether it is payroll operations or outsource operations, and govern their workforce with clarity, which is we're doing audits and compliances. So this is what it is. And our stack combines advisory with platforms like we just newly developing AI-based platform called CompliantGMT.AI. We have V-Checked for our vendor compliances as well as establishing compliance management. And it is indigenous in nature. In fact, the platforms we built over the years and with revisions and things with ever-changing landscape of not only tech space but even compliance, and to make it easier for organizations with a tap of a button to understand what their information about the compliance is all about. So the goal is simple: make compliance continuous, ensure it is data led, and make it very business friendly. So just give background about that is what we do. In fact, so Karma Management has been existing for 21 years in label of compliance, payroll, workforce governance, or you can say outsourcing, as well as in-house and across India and with some global extensions. Yeah, so this is what it is.
Great. Thank you for that overview, Pratik. We are really glad to understand the impact karma management is bringing into the compliance industry and helping our organizations stay compliant with minimal effort, or I would say effortlessly, with the kind of platforms that you're building in-house and making organizations adapt to the changing compliance and regulations easily. Now, let's dive a little deeper into your personal journey, Pratik. You have over 2 decades of experience and you have been instrumental in transforming Karma Global into a globally respected organization with a strong international presence. So, can you tell us more about yourself? How has your journey been till date? What led you to, start Karma Global, and what exactly is your role today at the company?
So I was always inclined towards technology, though my basic education was in commerce, as well as I did MBA in HR from Jamnal Bajaj and a law from Metibai College. Because my father had a business of basic payroll compliance business since many years. And he was very much inclined that, I would take over the business. However, my personal thing was that I should be doing more on tech and all. So though I was not an engineer and all, but then I finished some courses of GNIT, some of the tech courses of MCA, CMCSD, and I was always inclined for technology and not join my father's business at all. So that was way back in 97, 98. And what I then did was worked in companies like Arthur Anderson, was my first job. Micro Unlimited, through that Procter and Gamble, Standard Chartered, and all those, where I was very much ahead in those days about technology-driven solutions, networking solutions, and all those. As a paradigm shift where my father's business was really going down, and then he needed support because it was ironically it was non-technology led in nature and all. So I took it up as a challenge. I had an option, actually two options, whether be a very cushy job which I had and just shift to Singapore, or more just leave the company, which is a 10 employee company, around 500 square feet office, and roughly 80 lakh turnover at that time, and see if we can turn around now. So I chose a difficult option, and that's where we are, in fact. And over the years, I guide the product and market strategy, turning field pain points and platform features. So combining the tech which already I had in mind, and then the compliance knowledge which I gained over the years, and of course my basic education on HR and law, combining everything. I always believe that we need to give some solution to the clients, to the end clients, to ensure that they are well informed, have a technology as an enabler for them so that the decision becomes very much easier. And yes, compliance knowledge and right advice is by default. So combining this compliance, bit of management expertise and techs, that's how we built Karma from brick to brick from 2004 onwards until date. That's where what the journey has been. And it includes tech platform right from the year 2011-12 onwards till date. We've been continuously enhancing our operations via tech, as well as via our market reputation, and as well as the delivery which we want to give. That's what I wanted to just tell you in a nutshell about my journey, as well as Karma's journey in a nutshell.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Pratik. And it's truly inspiring to understand and hear how your role directly contributes to driving more innovation within the organization and, of course, overall contributing to the overall industry as well. It definitely gives a clear picture of how leadership and vision can translate into pure action and drive more value. Moving ahead, I think when we are talking about workforce compliance, managing workforce compliance is challenging domestically, but even if you expand globally, the complexities multiply. And there are different global labor laws, there's constant regulatory changes, intricate tax rules, and I think all of this can overwhelm even the most robust HR teams. When we talk about the traditional compliance methods, they often fall short because they're very tedious and time consuming, which can lead to costly fines and even legal complications. On the other hand, though, technology has emerged as a pivotal and a transformative force, offering robust solutions to streamline compliance management and cultivate an inclusive culture of adherence. So traditionally, I think compliance was seen as a very reactive function. So how is technology shifting that mindset towards a proactive and a predictive governance?
Yeah, I see. It's all about knowing, and not everyone can be expert in labor law compliance. And it's, for example, forget the global part. Even if we talk about India, we have two governments, like one is central government, and then we have every state-wise government, and then you have central acts and then state acts. So it's all combination of central act or national acts and national rules, national act and state rules, then state act and state rules, and combining everything, it's more than 500 plus. Acts which an organization needs to follow. They have pan India thing. So right information is very, very critical. The technology can play a big role, which you say, right? Where we have information, we make a checklist, we have the data to ensure that everything is there, and the client is knowing the SLA chasing, the anomaly validation, which happens if they upload some documents, the statutory formats they need to maintain for the client, so that they get a real client workflows, which is there. So operation team can move from firefighting, where they don't know about compliance, to even as a foresight that yes, this is what we need supposed to do, and this is what we need to do, and that's where it is. So something like in the technology, what it can play a role is like have continuous controls. So because compliance is always evolving, especially Minimum Wages Act and other PF and all, where there are changes every time. The monthly data in just some flags, and they put up in the technology before the due dates, like say PF, ESI, gaps are there or minimum wage variance is there. Those things are very, very important. For the companies, risk signals are very also there. Like there are trend lines or delays. Okay, I have delayed this payment for not only for me or for my vendors or contractors also. Repeat some non-conformities is there. Site-wise heat maps are there. Those kind of things which technology will aim to be giving these insights to the HR or the person who's managing the compliances. And then some of the examples I can give is like some of the workflow nudges which can be there. Like what we have in V-Checked, our platform is a smart chasers and checklists which reduce the last day scrambles. It's always good to be prepared for the fire rather and prevent the fire rather than firefighting. So it's always good to prevent penalties rather than explaining them later, right? Why due to default. Sometimes companies do not know and they kind of default, and then they are in that rigmarole and completely trap off the government authority. So technology plays a very, very big role. I will give example like overtime spikes are there. They don't know whether it is happening or not. With the right data uploaded and the analytics given, that can have go as a trigger, like low weekly off, like you need to have 1 weekly off after 6 days. Those triggers and early review, roster corrections, all can be done just before an inspection is there, whether internal, whether through statutory auditors or through maybe government authorities. So the compliance plays a very, very big role, including the technology in this particular thing. So I hope I was just sharing my insights on that. I hope it was quite information about how technology will play a very big good role if companies want to really stay compliant, especially in the complex nature of laws which we have.
Right. No, definitely. I think the insights that you shared were pretty great, and it's really interesting to see how compliance is no longer about, just checking boxes, but it's more about actually anticipating before they occur. And I think technology here is clearly transforming governance into a more strategic function and giving the continuous control that organizations pretty much need in an era where compliance and regulations are continuously evolving. So let's build on that. And earlier you mentioned about an AI-powered compliance system that Karma Global really thrives on. So when we talk about AI, it is definitely no longer just a buzzword, and it's transforming how organizations operate, and particularly in the realm of workplace management. So as businesses expand across multiple sites and regions, the complexity of managing and optimizing the resources, there's this constant pressure of ensuring that operations are growing exponentially, seamlessly, to be honest. Here, of course, AI is emerging as a powerful ally and offering innovative solutions that streamline processes, reduces cost, and enhance the overall efficiency. So, when we talk about workplace management, I guess regulatory compliance and risk management are two critical aspects, especially for organizations with a very global footprint. Of course, we discussed that keeping up with this evolving regulations or reporting requirements can be pretty overwhelming without the right tools. So, how can AI-powered compliance systems help organizations, manage this dynamic regulatory environments more effectively? And how Karma Global is redefining the workforce governance?
See, AI is yes, definitely a buzzword, but people will feel that AI is replacing jobs. I don't know. They are enabling you to ensure that your menial jobs are really done well. For example, AI can assist in document extraction, like notice challan. So, if at all the say a contractor has uploaded documents of notices, challans, or he's uploaded payroll and attendance, whether that right payroll is given to the right number of people, that AI can do that by mapping fields to the statutory formats, spotting anomalies across payroll, attendance, even the vendor data. So when you talk about a large company with a large number of locations and all, and if you want to map each and every location, the attendance are uploaded properly and all, AI can play a very good role in analytics. It can play a very good role in mapping things around it. So the credential and portal information with human in loop, and see, because most of the government websites they have the captcha, so human in loop is always there, so whenever needed. But in AI in compliance will be imagine a situation where one person, when a company gets a notice, say in Bangalore, which is in Canada, he uploads a notice on the system of CompliantGMT.AI. and it gives you immediate insights of what the notice is about, what the translation of, because it's in Kannada, it'll translate the notice for you. It'll ask you to tick box, what are compliant, non-compliant, which is mentioned in the notice, and give you a suggestive response immediately that what kind of reply you need to file and what attachment of the documents. So this is a wonderful thing where at a snap of the button or a snap of the finger, the HR or the compliance personnel is ready to immediately take a decision or move forward rather than really waiting and just sending it to the so-called consultant or legal internally and waiting endlessly for them to revert on those particular documentation, the response. So this is the big change which can happen if AI-enabled platforms, especially compliance platform, which we, as for Karma is concerned, our thing is very clear that we don't want to ship generic AI. We want to encode this full India-specific rule states, validations, variations, the real portal behaviors into our product, advise it, and tech travel together, and ensure that it's not only India but globally as well. That's what we're trying to do as far as this. And I think it will be a revolution if you're able to achieve this in next 6 months, where any organizations will be able to take firm decisions or at least are well informed and they are not reliant on a lot of people to give them solutions to around this. So AI-based compliance tech would play a big role in ensuring that companies stay compliant and they are well informed.
Definitely, and I'm really glad to understand that artificial intelligence is simplifying what's traditionally been so complex and a manual-oriented process. And it's also fascinating to see how Karma Global is not just keeping up with the compliance changes, but actually setting new benchmarks in workforce governance by embracing the tech solutions and ensuring that the platforms or the specialized solutions that you are providing to organizations is helping them navigate the challenges that are associated with compliance management. Moving ahead, so I was just reading this study which showed that in 2025, around 42% of enterprises reported AI project cancellations compared to a year ago, which was 17%. Of course, the reasons that they cited were cost, data privacy, security risks, and much more. Now, the finding underscores the importance of fostering a culture of innovation, which by design will include some failures, definitely. Yet, in order to improve the chances of success with AI or the agentic AI projects that is kind of taking the hype lately, business leaders must work to reduce one internal obstacle, that is, departmental silos. Now, true AI transformation is not a series of isolated projects, but a holistic and an enterprise wide shift. So, a lot of companies are now shifting to a unified one workforce, one strategy approach, wherein, the traditional silo model can be navigated, and considering that those traditional models can be very fatal threat to its success. So, till today, I think organizations are still struggling with the siloed data. How can integrated workforce governance platform can unify data across departments, specifically HR, legal, and operational systems to enhance visibility and accountability?
See, in AI, in fact, when you talk about agentic AI, what does it do? And it is the large language model, the LLM, that reads databases, a huge database there. It self-generates the SQL, and then it'll just fix some pipeline issues which is there. So data cleaning, transformation, and reporting is what the AI driven service will always do, and it can happen across organizations, across the departments in the organizations. That's where it is. So no longer there will be a siloed data which will be there, and companies or the department will just work in their own particular compartments. The data is shared across the functions and information. And so, see, a good AI based system could be like a good ARP within the organization itself. Not necessarily that a company has to invest a lot of money in ERP, but having a kind of a simple 2, 3 AI based systems where it is connected with each other via APIs and all would really make a big thing, where then the compartmentalization or working in silos will not happen. So it is just unifying, your HR, legal, ops data across things. Some simple thing which I can tell you about, say, what product which we're building and which we already have is, let's say, common identifiers. Say, if I'm a consultant and I'm doing it for a lot of clients, so my company codes across all the company names, employee ID, it has to be used consistently across models to stitch their data sets. Similarly, like, you have pre-built connectors, which I told you, there may be some systems already there. You can retrofit the AI into ensuring there are connectors, like API connectors, which are put some pipelines which will pull the HRMS data, payroll data, timesheet data, contractors, vendors data into one compliance data layer, so that informed decisions can be made, insights can be rolled out. You can make a better dashboard. It'll be pulling out information. So AI can be deployed in traditional systems as well to pull out information from different systems which are working in isolation or silos or compartmentalized from way, and can give a very meaningful database or dashboard to the organizations. We are trying to do this in our compliant GMT for more of compliancing, but this same thing can be leveraged across the platform, across the organization also. So that's what. So what is the outcome in this? Single source of truth, for your data as far as employees are concerned, some traceable audit trails which will have, some role-based view which will have across all the functions like HR, legal, finance, and all. That's the whole outcome it would happen, if you try to either retrofit AI in your system or just build a good ERP around the AI. That's what it is. That's how you'll unify the siloed operation data. That's what I think. I hope I answered your question here.
Definitely, definitely, Pratik. And of course, when you're talking about one unified truth or a single source of truth, I think that's really important, and it's necessary to break down those data silos, as that one unified view can drive more strategic decision making across the organization. So I think it's not about just compliance or efficiency with a one unified view. It's about creating a more connected and a proactive workplace culture, alongside which can also manage the complexities that we have with compliance management. So, thank you for those insights, Pratik. Let's take that a step further. Now, I think in the modern world, we are surrounded with AI and automation technologies, and but despite the surge in technological advances, it is critical to not lose sight of the importance of a human touch. So earlier in one of your responses, you did mention that AI is not here to replace jobs, but it's more about augmenting their skills and their knowledge. I think it becomes very imperative to devise or come up with the strategies that can prioritize the preservation of the human element. So, how do you think that companies can balance automation and human judgment in decision making to ensure more fairness and transparency?
Let me take back when you have to do some 10 two-digit calculations, we use calculator, that will speed up our calculations very fast. If you have 3 to 4 digit of calculations and some 100 data points, then you will use a computer or a laptop, or just open a spreadsheet or Excel or something, and you just import data and do that, and it will be faster. If you start doing manually, it will take a lot of time. Similarly, so this technology, whether it's calculator or computer, is just ensuring is enabling you to do things faster. AI is also the same thing which a organization need to ensure that just automate the routine tasks, the mundane tasks which are there. As I told you, certain things like in say payroll. Even if I forget the payroll part, if I'm talking about even recruitment part, automate the kind of a filtering of things, but always have a supervised where the decision making is not left to the AI. Escalate the ambiguity which are there. The system may prepare the draft. As I told you, I was giving example of the notice which has come. They'll prepare draft, but don't expect the system to actually file the draft for you. Human decides the exceptions and this edges the cases. That's what you need to have. So you need to always have the guardrails in place where, the maker is AI, the checker is humans. That's very important. And in every space, whether it is a human resource management or it is compliance management, this has to go with maker and checker because if a lot of data is there, AI has a trend, and we have so much of research which is available. It'll go as a silent bias, and the companies will not understand and will not come to know also. So human approach, human touch is always very important. Whether it is not only to do with data crunching, but even the human touch is important when it is to do with the handling of employee listening, employee behavior, all those things. At the same time, human touch is important when it comes to decision making in compliance because the maker is AI, checker is should be you, explainable flags. You may have certain explanation to those anomalies which the AI is pointed out, and that should not go and ask the AI only to fix those. That is really not right. So when we're doing it, and when people are implementing this AI in compliance and people management, the ethics has to be by design. The bias checks and rules and clear ownership on every action has to be there. I think they need to be very fair. The person, the manager, whoever is handling these things, is has to always inform and take the informed decisions and not just rely on AI. That's what I would suggest. So that's where we should always balance automation with more human judgment and more human touch, whether it is to just deal with a situation employee or whether it is to do with the compliance. I would just like to cite an example. For a person has gone on leave, and the AI would fetch that he has gone on leave and may send a notice also why he gone on leave. But it will not explain the fact that employee was refused a leave, and because manager told him not to go on leave, and he was disgruntled and his motion was low, and he's now going to resign because he was not allowed for leave and all. So those are the places where employee listening and human touch is very much required. And it just cannot be left to AI that, oh, whoever is going on absenteeism because of so and so reason, they should be thrown out of the company. So, this way, balancing automation is very much important with the human judgment and human intervention. That's what I was thinking of sharing my views on this.
Definitely, and thank you for citing that example as well, Pratik, because it's a very important point, when we are talking about automation and specifically in the compliance processes, it's very important that we have that balance between data-driven insights as well as human intuition, because it kind of then overall defines how ethical and effective organizations can be. Building on that, I think we have had an interesting conversation and about incorporating AI in workforce management, which is no longer a futuristic concept. It is very much needed to navigate the complexities of compliance in today's era. So, one last question for you, Pratik, is as regulations are becoming more and more global and complex, how do you see compliance governance evolving in the next 3 to 5 years?
Continuous compliance will become a norm actually, so even government is trying to automate a lot of things by at least combining some laws into four labor codes and all. So they are trying to ease the governance or ease the things of doing business, but interoperable credentials, digital inspections, it will all enhance. Like for example, there are now digitized inspections done by government itself. So that has going to be the future in next 3 to 5 as far as compliance governance is concerned. So there will not be any room for anything which will be there. In income tax or GST, always whenever you file a balance sheet or will file a P&L and all, you get notices automatic because all the data crunching done by the system itself, the AI itself. So same thing is going to happen very near future in next 3 to 5 years as far as compliance governance concerned, especially to do with the labor laws and employee governance. So that's not going to happen. So AI will move from assistance to assurance, I would feel, where proactive recommendations would come in, insights to even the labor authorities would come in that, okay, fine, the companies are compliant, non-compliant, the data which is put up. PF has done a very good job of ECR 3.0, where they'll be able to help you navigate those things around it. So similarly, labor laws also would come in. So this is going to be the next 3 to 5 years of compliance governance with, technology being the forefront, whether it is ESG or workforce dignity metrics, or the whole thing would be more of dashboard. So the government also putting the dashboards for them to see whether companies are able to match those things and they align that compliance and they are true with the brand trust which they have. So imagine a situation where, like, there are SLA chasers, and that will reduce the month and get data gap, and that can SLA chasers be internally developed, deployed, or there can be inspection chasers by government authorities also in next 3 to 5 years, where the data which is uploaded on the system, and if anomalies are found and the chasers are sent by the government authorities that either the information is wrong or you please send additional data, and all those things are going to happen. So, and the validation is happening on the government side itself. So this can be the next future which is going to be there. I would believe that organizations need to ensure that next 3 to 5 years they have their systems in a way that it auto checks and it embraces that AI. It auto checks those things, and they are well informed before surprises kick in, and it becomes an embarrassment in front of authorities. So comply smart is the most important part which every organization needs to develop within themselves. That's what I would say.
Definitely. And I think when we're talking about workforce compliance, AI is definitely the way forward by streamlining operations, reducing risks, and ensuring the readiness for expansion. I think AI transforms compliance from a burden into a strong competitive advantage. And in today's fast moving global economy, I think embracing AI empowers the HR teams and legal teams to go beyond the routine tasks and help them drive a strategic initiative that supports the organization growth. Thank you so much, Pratik, for taking out the time and effort to be on a podcast today and helping us understand that technology not only simplifies compliance, but it also makes organizations future ready. And when organizations embrace these AI-driven compliance processes, they can achieve the ultimate advantage with which guarantees effortless compliance, minimal risk, and the maximum peace of mind. Thank you so much for your insights, Pratik. It was lovely chatting with you.
I just want to do a small closing here and just want to give insight on that. All right. So imagine a situation where a company is either Merck or a Rolls Royce, which is very expensive. Merck is like around a crore and Rolls Royce is around, say, 5 crore car. The nut bolts which are there of the tires or wheels, this hardly cost around maybe thousands to maximum a lakh or something. This compliance is nothing but the nut bolts. Even if you're a Merc or a Rolls Royce, if your compliance nut bolts are not tightened enough, the biggest car will break down. And that's very important. So compliance should feel like a cruise control, not a speed breaker. It should be like a nut bolt, which it should be tight. And that's where it has to be. So with the right data, good fabric, guardrails, human oversight, which we spoke about, balancing automation and all. Organizing can govern confidently, grow faster, drive faster, whether it is Merck or BMW or Rolls Royce, if the notebooks are tight enough. That's it. I just want to share that.
Great. That was a great closure, Pratik, and thank you for that. Definitely, I think our listeners would be able to relate to it and take necessary steps to simplify the compliance management. Thank you so much. So, this is for our listeners. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned more about the role of technology and compliance management. Please be stay tuned for our upcoming podcast, and you can view all our previous podcasts on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.